The fallen Confederacy refuses to admit that their time is over. It is the time of the new races, of the despicable interspecies cluster of the Strevical Dominion, of the corrupt and decadent DRA Fulton Empire, of the might of our glorious and shining Grenclacale Empire. Their might and power has slipped away, slowly nibbled by entropy. They must realize that we, the new races, are the inheritor of the universe. Grenclacale Emperor's Coronation Speech, 3764 Current Era. Senior Dominion Intelligence Case Worker Hravikal entered the room with some trepidation. Being summoned to the Senior Assistant Overdirector's Senior Assistant of Intelligence Analysis's office was always nerve-wracking, but the current topic in the Dominion Intelligence Services made things even more nervous. An intelligence failure on a massive scale. From the danger posed by a piece of recovered archaeological hardware to the sudden, shocking appearance of two Streakal citizens that had been missing for more than 5 years, to the cataclysmic revelations that had occurred upon their capture. Hravikal felt his nervousness rise when he saw who else was present. All of them were using privacy screens to conceal their identities, but there was also the icons for the Senior Permanent Undersecretary of Scientific Advancement, the Senior Assistant Permanent Oversecretary of Intelligence, and more than few others. Swallowing several times to get both of his stomachs to settle, he moved to the space in front of the Senior Assistant Overdirector's Senior Assistant of Intelligent Analysis's desk and stopped. "Oh, relax, Hravikal," the Sowdseer said, waving one hand. "Go ahead and prepare your speech for everyone."
Hravikal nodded.
He activated the holotank that rose up out of the floor, then twiddled with the settings until everything was displayed in silver and red. "What is the meaning of that?" one of the hidden asked. "It prevents any proliferation of terror shades," Hravikal stated. Interviews with Mad Scientist Grade 9 Taskapak, as well as an inquiry to the Telkan and Trinidad diplomatic embassies, confirmed that red and silver prevents the shade from manifesting in reality. There were some frowns. Yes, a terror shade will go from a recording displayed even on a 2D screen, much less a hologram, into a real shade that will then go on a killing spree, Hravikal said. He activated the program, showing the shade replicating quickly until the number was in the billions. Transmitting its image allows it to replicate at each receiving point, which can then rebroadcast it, allowing it to replicate itself at the newest receptor. He looked around. The strange thing is, the shade that manifests at the new point is never the shade that was shown. It's always a new shade, with a new appearance, Hravikal said. How? The single word hung in the air for a moment.
Hravikal shrugged.
I don't know. Magic. He waved his hand, dismissing the simulation. We're dealing with terror technology, which even the tools to create the tools to create the tools to work with it might as well be magic. Technology is technology, a firm voice insisted. Not magic.
Hravikal snorted.
Any technology you do not understand might as well be magic, he said. That's the first thing you need to understand to even hope to work with terror technology, and you need to understand fallen Confederacy technology to even hope to understand the edges of terror technology. No, so, it is just technology, the same voice insisted. Fine, Hravikal said. He was used to this kind of intransigence. Is this chamber cut off from Infonet? The director nodded. He pointed at the light switch. Standard technology. We have had the simple on-off switch for 5,000 years, he paused. Explain how it works. There was silence. Seriously, explain how it works, Hravikal repeated. You put the switch in the on position and it turns the object on, another voice said. That explains nothing. Explain how it works, he repeated. If it is on, it allows the passage of electrical current. If it is off, it does not allow it. The voice that had insisted it was just technology stated in an authoritarian voice. That is not an explanation. Explain it, Hravikal insisted. There was silence. That light switch is magic to all of you, he snorted. You understand less about it than a blacksmith chanting spells and prayers while he worked iron in our history understood about his craft. I might as well tell you that pressing the button makes a wizard cast a spell on a magic crystal to make it emit light, and you can't argue otherwise. He could feel the anger and hatred in the silence. That basis is why so much terror technology can only be slightly understood by mad scientists of grade V or higher, he said. Which brings me to... The holotank switched to a full-color image of a disheveled and greasy-looking Tascapac. Meet Tascapac 88542, grade 9 mad scientist. We know this, get on with it, another synthesized voice stated. You know nothing, Ravekal snapped. He turned to the director. Since they know everything, can I be excused to attend a dancing class or perhaps a tea party at the local creche? The director waved a hand, looking slightly tired. Present your data. Ignore them. Ravekal curled his lips slightly as he went back to the image. Lacking political or financial connections, Tascapac 88542 was never upgraded to Grade X, which would give him unrestrained access to whatever he wanted, Ravekal said. He shook his head. Unfortunately, another being has decided to grant Tascapac 88542 to a great deal of information, technology, and experiences. The picture changed to show the same figure, only seemingly leaner, sharper-eyed, with an aura of dangerous insanity around him. Several beings drew back from the image. After disappearing from a sealed lab in what was assumed to be an accident that disintegrated him, he reappeared 5 nights ago in the company of. The image of Tascapac slid over, and the image of a Strevical soldier appeared, the image obviously taken from his service file. Meet Rifleman First Class, retired, Shrocker 553881, sole survivor of a live terror incident. He too vanished, from a locked apartment after leaving a suicide note. The image rippled and was replaced by the same Strevical, just bulkier, his eyes more focused, his shoulders and chest broader, his arms thicker. You can see the physical differences, Ravekal stated. But it's much, much more than you think. He wiped the image away, replacing it with a translucent bioscan of Tascapac. Several organs were lit up. There was obvious circuitry embedded in muscle, cranial tissue, at nerve points. The claw tendrils were highlighted, as were the small tendrils on the tongue and gums, the top and bottom of the mouth. There were induction pads on his paw pads that hair-thin wires connected to his brain. Someone modified Tascapac 88542 heavily, Ravekal said. The circuitry in the brain allows him to retain information, process advanced data, interface with computer systems. His manipulation and sensory tendrils are roughly 10 times more sensitive with a broader range than normal. That's not even getting into the fact his brain has more folds and ridges than normal. Who did such a thing and why? A synthesized voice asked. The why is unknown, Ravekal said. The who, well, we know that due to Tascapac's testimony. He hit a button and an additional window opened up. Tascapac sat in a chair, gloves on his hands to prevent him from interfacing with any electronics, a heavy helmet to prevent any EM or phasic emissions on his head, and a bit in his mouth to prevent him from using his mouth but still allow him to speak. Who did all of this to you? A hidden interviewer asked. Tascapac somehow gave a wild-eyed smile despite the bit and the helmet. The matron of the damned, the mother of the dark sciences, the Lady Lord of Hell, he said. She who walks between the spaces. There was silence. Can you tell us more? The interviewer asked. The detainee, the Lady Lord of Hell, who succors and heals those who only scream, Tascapac said. The matron of the damned, who gathers the souls of the lost and forgotten to her plentiful bosom. She who walks between the spaces, whose footsteps herald the apocalypse. The mother of all dark science, at whose bosom we mad scientists suckle. The mad scientist's eyes began to glow red. She opened my skull and poured in madness. At her hands and words I learned of the impossible. I learned there is no end to science, that it goes on forever and ever, amen. Tascapac said, "My eyes beheld her unclad glory as she revealed unto me that which others could never comprehend. She stripped away my defences and denials, and shared such secrets with me, secrets that are ours alone to know." Ravacal stopped the replay. The detainee. We know of her through graffiti, through some writings, but have always assumed that she, like the rest of the terrors, was merely a myth or had died long ago, Ravacal stated. According to both of our subjects, not only does she still exist, she is in possession of extremely dangerous technologies and scientific knowledge. He clicked a button and the soldier appeared, split into multiple windows with data streaming down. To say he's been modified is an understatement, Ravacal said. His skin is modified to be able to withstand small-bore ballistic weapons and low-wattage energy weapons. His fur layers have been modified. His joints have been sheathed and reworked. His musculature is completely rebuilt. He paused for a second. Our muscles are multi-directional, capable of pulling, pushing, and twisting. He clicked the button, and all the muscles on the soldier lit up. His are unidirectional. The tendons and ligaments have all been re-anchored. This makes him incredibly strong and flexible, with reaction times less than 1/10 of normal. His hearts have both been rebuilt with biomechanical tissue. Ravacal shook his head. He has cybernetic linkages that connect his brain and eyes to weapons fitted for such advancements. He has a combat subprocessor in his brain that enables him to do combat analysis. He shook his head again. To put it short and succinctly, he was stripped down to his brain and then rebuilt almost entirely. How? How was this done without killing him? A voice asked. Ravacal gave the equivalent of a shrug. Unknown. He paused for a moment. But I can tell you one thing. There was silence. What? The director asked from behind his desk. Our biology, our physiology, all of it, from our 4-protein DNA makeup to how our brains work, are little more than clay in the hands of a talented, practiced, and skilled sculptor, is the message that was sent, he stated. It's a silent declaration that a single mythical figure can do what she wants to our very bodies and minds using methods we cannot even comprehend. That got a long silence. We could not copy what she did. Our technology, our understand of biology and medical sciences, cannot even explain what she did, much less how, Ravacal said. Then, look at what they were sent to do. He opened a window in the holotank and replayed the events in red and silver, stopping when the shade turned into clear gelatin. She rebuilt them, educated them, trained them, then sent them on a possible suicide mission that saved the entire Dominion, he stated. It was being broadcast through Infonet, with our automatic system loading the imagery into message torpedoes to be taken to all of our planets for researchers to examine. He tapped the holotank. If that had gotten loose, it would have replicated quickly and killed everyone on every world within days of the message torpedo arriving. More silence. She saved us, not because she had to, not even because she wanted to, Ravacal said. He paused again. She saved us to send a message. He broke the silence before the question could be answered. That she was able to do so with 2 of our citizens. She knew what we were about to do, despite the fact that we thought it was in secret, with enough foreknowledge to abduct, train, modify, and then send those 2 here with one mission. He paused for another moment. If that doesn't terrify you, if that doesn't instill any modicum of respect for the terrors in you, I don't know what will, he finished. Only silence answered him.